I'm going to be talking about some things you should be including in your chicken yard if you want to like make it a little bit better, or just if you want to get a little idea as to what you want to put in your chicken yard. I got you covered. So in this video, we're going to be talking exactly about that. Let's get into it. So the first thing I want to say is a place to hide. Now this can be many different things. You can set them up like a nice area to hide with like 2 cinder blocks and a piece of plywood. Like what we used to have, we used to have a cinder block and some plywood to cover on top of it, and that'll keep them safe from the aerial predators that'll try to come down and attack our chickens. However, another thing that you can do is that you could also put them in an area where you have bushes and shrubbery like this. You see this right here? This is a little bit, I'd say the shrubbery is a little bit too thick out here, so we might have to do a little bit of weed whacking. But it's a really nice and shady place for the chickens to hang out. The only issue is that if like I'm worried that like a raccoon was there and I need to make sure all the chickens are there, it might be hard to get in there and count all of them. But for that, it's the reason we set up our trail camera right over here, which I'll go into in just a minute, talk about some essential things later revolving around that. However, I will say an area to hide in their yard is essential to keep them safe from predators, or to keep them safe from another big predator that many people don't seem to talk about, the sun. I mean, we're about to get a severe thunderstorm out here. We got a pretty nasty one last evening that just went like 10 miles above us. If it came down 10 more miles, we'd probably have no power today. However, back to the point, the sun is a humongous predator to chickens because it'll dry up their water and it could give them potential heat stroke if it's really too hot for them. So why I'd recommend it's just a nice place for shade. It's right there. So next up, I really want to talk about trail cameras. This one right here is one we found at Walmart for like $20. Mostly anyone can buy something that looks like this. And what we're using this for is for something really simple, and it's called scouting out the location. This one's for a different purpose. This one is for making sure the raccoon, to check and see what time the raccoon is getting in here. We even set this up, a little contraption in here. We're gonna set some more stuff up in here to keep the raccoon out of here. However, that can also be used to your advantage to help scout out where you want to put them. So if you're gonna like set up a trail camera, kind of like ring around an area where you want to set them up, so like one trail camera at the end of each end. If it's like a bigger yard, it's like a trail camera there, whatever. In this case, because the yard isn't that big, I probably just put a trail camera there and a trail camera on that end. It'll help you determine what type of animals are getting into your yard and how to properly build a defense system for that. We usually do that every single time we're about to set them up in a new location, to make sure there's nothing brand new that's trying to get into the chickens or could possibly pose a major risk for the chickens. When we did it for this area, there was nothing. However, recently there's just been an outbreak of raccoons in northwestern Connecticut. All the people around me are complaining they're having the raccoons get into their trash and all that. I've seen tons of dead raccoons on the roads this year. I don't know what happened, but the raccoons are multiplying. And that's for that reason I want them out of my chicken yard. So if you have a raccoon issue, be sure to comment that down below. Especially if it's near your chickens, because it is... I was just wondering if I was the only one that's dealing with that. A third thing to put in your chicken yard is something that you might not think is essential, but like when you put it on paper, it's actually pretty essential, if you will. Now in here, there is a nice place for them to roost, and you might be wondering, what am I about to talk about? Well, tip number 3 of today is an area for them to just hang out, have some fun, whatever. Just a nice place for them to chill. Why is this so important? Because the chickens love this sort of stuff. So why do chickens need all of this extra stuff in their yard? Well, for one simple reason. You see, chickens, they love being able to roost, especially if you set up a rooster in their yard that's not the roosting bar. They know that like the roosting bar is the area where they need to go, because they're pretty smart like that. However, I'll say that this yard has a ton of areas for them to hang out, like the end of the coop right over there. The raccoon knocked that over the other day, and I'd say right now it's an area for them to hang out because it's now being supported up by a couple cinder blocks and it has some necessary support. However, this roosting bar right over here in the yard is pretty essential to them because this is just an area for them to hang out. And if they have a nice area to hang out, they're probably gonna be able to communicate with one another, and they'll be able to be a little bit more healthier, kind of. It doesn't sound that important, but in actuality, to make sure your chickens have a long, prosperous, and happy life, they need some entertainment in there as well. Now here's something else for you. If you want to learn what to put in your chicken yard, you can click the video on the screen right now, which goes fully into details from last night. So it's fresh, brand new video. At the time of recording, it's not even posted 24 hours ago, so I'll see you there.